had a panic attack a little bit because we were walking somewhere, we were going out to eat, and he was just like holding my hand. He just wanted to keep holding my hand. And I was just like, oh no. Oh, okay, what is happening? Okay, I have a son now. Okay, I'm getting married. Okay, it was just like a weird moment where everything was hitting me at one time. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Letitia Renee Brown, and thank you for joining me for yet another video and another episode of Testimony, My Life, His Glory. So we're gonna jump right in. And if you remember where we left off, I was at Bar Taco and I saw, the man that I was dating at the time walking in, looking good, smelling good, holding roses, looking very nervous. And I stopped the video there. But then I just want us to have like a little rewind moment, just go back a little bit, because I actually realized that I skipped over a few things and I want to catch you up so that we can truly leave off at that point. So I wanted to go back a little bit because I wanted to share with you all a little bit of the process, because I felt like y'all were going to ask this. This is why I'm backing up, because I felt like y'all were going to be like, like there was going to be some gaps in the story. So I wanted to go back a bit and kind of explain a few things to better inform the decision that we made. Here we are, me and this guy, and we've been dating for roughly a little under a month now. At that point, back in, let's say this is May 2022. The interesting thing about me meeting this man was that on his side, he was receiving the confirmations and the insight, if you will, about me. I, on my end, wasn't getting anything from God, obviously, in the ways that I was used to hearing him or that I expected to hear from him. I was just kind of left with a decision to make. And so I want to address this because there's different types of testimonies out there about how God, sent you your spouse, or how this is the one that God has for you. I believe now that God definitely has a person in mind for you. My perspective has changed in thinking that there's only one person for you. I say this because God has given us free will. This guy that I was dating could very well have never came and saw me again. He could have very well have passed up on me. Or when I met this guy on the Beltline, I could have passed up on him and declined his date. Does that mean I'll never meet my husband and never meet my person that God has for me? No, I don't believe so. I believe that this is what I believe now. I believe that God gives us an opportunity. He presents us with a very great choice that he has for us at the time, but we still have free will whether we choose it or not. I personally don't believe that God forces anyone into marrying anyone. I just had to put that out there because I did. And that is why the enemy played on my childlike obedience for the Father to say, anybody that you want me to marry, Lord, I'll marry him, no question. And so when that false Holy Spirit told me that this complete stranger was actually my husband, that's why I felt guilty and I felt pressured and I felt obligated to say, okay, yeah, sure, I'll hold out and wait and have faith for this person that I don't know. And I believe that the enemy is playing on that at this time with a lot of women, specifically men too, but I've come across a lot of women, especially online, who are holding out for marriage for someone that they may never meet. Now, that's not everyone. I'm not saying that's everyone, but I've come across this quite a few times, and I went through it myself to experience that. So I had to put that out there. I had to share that because that was something very specific. That was something very important that I think I needed to share with you all. You always have the option to choose. God will not force you to marry anyone, just like he can't force you to be obedient to things he's calling you to do. So why is he going to force you to marry someone? That is a life altering decision. And so that's what I believe, because based off of my experience, that's how it was for us. The guy I was dating, he made a choice to say she is a great option for me. And God confirmed that choice by giving us the peace, giving us the confirmations of us experiencing the supernatural conjoining of our spirits, and just in general, our attraction to each other, our chemistry, the alignment of our purpose. A lot of things was confirmation for us to say, yeah, this is it for me. This is it for me. That was just like a conversation that we had. There was nothing in place. There was no plans made or anything, but we decided we're going to do this. I don't know what this is. I don't know what it's going to look like. But basically, in but so many ways, we were choosing to choose each other for marriage, for lifelong partnership, for covenant before God. And yeah, from here, it got a little rocky. It got a little rocky. So we had that conversation. And before any proposals or anything happened, because we were both in on it, we both knew this is what we wanted to do. I didn't know exactly when he would pop the question, but I just knew that he would, right? And it's so interesting because my timeline was, I'm going to meet you. Okay, so we're going to date for about a year. Okay, cool. We're going to get to know each other. Maybe, and this is before I was walking with God too. This is just my little litmus test, if you will, my timeline of how I think things should go. Meet you, date you for a year. After a year, then we'll move in once we're engaged. So getting engaged a year later. Then we'll live with each other for about a year and then plan our wedding for a year. And then that following year, we'll get married. So that's like a 2-year, maybe 3-year process that I wanted to have. And it's so interesting because I still was kind of trying to hold on to that a little bit. Now that I had this newfound relationship with Christ, I was like, well, I'm still kind of hesitant to rush into anything. But here's the thing I didn't share with y'all, and I forgot to share this. If you watched my previous video where I was sharing about how God was ushering me into a season of marriage preparation back in November 2020, because if you remember, I rededicated my life to Christ September 2020. He started moving fast. He started cleaning me up and saying, okay, this is what I have for you, right? I remember discerning at that time back in November 2020 that I was going to have an accelerated marriage, that things were not going to be long, drawn out. And to hear it in the spirit or to discern that, I didn't have an issue with it. I had peace with it. But to be living it and seeing this man in front of me and basically saying that he's discerning that we'll get married in 6 months. That's what the 6 months was on the belt line. It freaked me out. It freaked me out. It went against everything that I planned, and it's a high level of commitment. This is your person. This is marriage. This is the person you're going to have kids with. This is the person that you're going to choose to wake up and love day in and day out. This is the person until death do us part, in sickness and in health and all the things, right? This is a huge decision. So why did I get so comfortable with talking about marriage with this guy? It's a culmination of all the things that I shared with you, but truly and honestly, it was just peace. It was just peace. And so I share all this to bring it back to where we are in May 2020, because before he popped the question, we started to share that we were going to be pursuing this thing. And on his end, evidently, he was sharing with, my side of the family, that he was going to do it rather quickly. And that freaked some people out. We had some disapproval, and on my side of the family. And then when we shared it with his side of the family, it was kind of the same thing. It was just like, okay, y'all might want to slow down. And it was tough because, of course, to outsiders looking in, we may look like two, drunken love teenager type people who don't have any common sense. But all it took was one person to really catch what was happening in the spirit. And that was my mother in law. Oops, gave it away. Well, y'all know I'm married anyway, whatever. Um, but that was my mother in law who caught it in the spirit, who really started to catch that piece, who really started to catch what God was doing. It took her discernment to really, for us to really garner her support. And, it was really hard. I'm not going to lie and say it wasn't really hard. I'm not going to go into details here because actually I'm going to be writing a book on this, and I'll be writing more detail in the book that God is leading me to write about this accelerated marriage love story, if you will. Yeah, it was pretty tough. But the beautiful thing was, again, never heard anything in my spirit saying he's the one. God coming down from heaven on a cloud and saying, "This is your husband." I never got any of that. He was getting all that cool stuff, not me. So we're faced with a bit of adversity and disapproval and maybe a little bit of skepticism from family members on both sides of the family. And it was pretty tough. But despite that, we had to keep moving forward in what we were choosing. We were choosing our love that we believe was approved by God. So back to where we were in the last video. We're at Bar Taco. And like I was saying, my girlfriend that I was with, she had her phone and she was starting to like record me over my shoulder. I'm looking behind me like, what are you recording? What are you doing? And it's him with my favorite bouquet of flowers, roses. I think they were like some crazy, beautiful color, like peach or pink. I love pink, obviously. Um, and I'm just gonna show you the video. Just watch the video. Oh God. Absolutely. Yes, baby. Love it. So yeah, that was the proposal, and it was perfect, and it was beautiful. And I know you couldn't hear what he was saying. Heck, I forgot what he actually said too. I just remember the part of "Will you marry me?" Right? I was I was shaking, and I was so nervous, and I was so excited. But even though I was expectant, and we knew that he was going to, propose to me at some point, I had no idea when. And it was a month after we started dating. And he proposed to me with this beautiful ring that I have on now. Of course, this is my wedding band here at the bottom, but he would we oh, that was another thing because before he proposed to me, we went ring shopping essentially. We went he behind the scenes got the ring and all the stuff. I had no idea, but I gave him an idea of what I wanted. I was like, I love rose gold. I want a very simple solitaire, diamond and all of those things. And the brother did good because I'm very simple. I want something that um is timeless and that can be passed down and nothing that's too big though be like snagging my hair and snagging stuff. All right, so it's the middle of the video. Y'all know how I like to do. Go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe. Turn on that bell notification because I want you to stick around. I want us to be friends. I want you to continue to kick it with me and to listen to my crazy stories and my antics and things that God has taught me and all these things. So become part of family, subscribe, and thank you for doing so. So yeah, we're engaged. And then after we did that at Bar Taco, you actually probably saw my friend in the video with her phone. So you're probably like, what is going on? The manager was in on it too of the restaurant, which was so beautiful. And then I don't know if we got this on video or not. I have to go and like look for it or something. But the manager comes out with complimentary champagne, and we're like, what? And so my girlfriend, she was just like, I'll leave you two little birds to it. So she slides out the booth and, replaced by him. And now we're just sitting here across from each other, cheesing, like, over tacos. Like it was so was so cute. And so after that, what did we do? This bar taco is right off of the Beltline here in Atlanta. So we walked to the Beltline and we just enjoyed visiting the place that we met. And then he just started taking like pictures of me, with the ring and we were just like hanging out, people seeing us like, "Oh, congratulations." It was really, really nice. It was a beautiful time. Man, it was a beautiful time. And so now we're engaged. It's go time. And we decide that we wanted to get married on in September. And then we were like planning it out and I was like, this feels good. Let's do September. And then I was like, hold on, wait. I looked at the calendar and I was counting the months. I was like, and I was like, oh my God, stop it. That's 6 months. Wow. April, May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, from April to September. Ended up being 6 months. We hire a wedding planner and basically give this poor woman 5 months to plan this beautiful, beautiful wedding. And she was amazing. She was so efficient and she was a believer. So that was just so helpful because the theme of our wedding was like Garden of Eden and everything was very like natural. We got married in this beautiful like garden slash arts center here in Atlanta. And I didn't even know that place existed. So shout out to my wedding planner. The venue was gorgeous. And so we picked the venue. I've never planned a wedding, obviously. But it's so funny because I bought a wedding planner in faith during my, preparation season. And so I cannot tell you how beautiful of a moment it was for me to crack open that little wedding planner and actually insert our names and, plan out the venue and the dress. And so I got it done. And so we were pretty busy because now we're engaged. And so now we need to share this with the extended family. And also, I have to meet his son. My baby. So we're traveling to meet family. Oh, yeah, because I didn't even meet his mom yet, but we were engaged. So we travel to Florida. I meet his mom and his dad and his stepdad. And then we're also traveling to see his son, who, his birthday he was turning 3 at the time. And then from there, mind you, still planning a wedding, still, booking the catering, still booking the florists, and still, yeah, I did not want a shotgun wedding. I did not want to go to the courthouse and say, I do. I always told the Lord, I said, okay, if you want me to have an accelerated marriage before I even met this man, can I please just have a wedding? And it doesn't have to be 500 people and this huge display and fireworks and all this stuff. I want it to be very intimate. I want it to be tasteful. I want it to be like elegant and opulent, but still very grounded in nature. And so we were planning this wedding and traveling. So we left Florida and I met my new bonus baby and his mother and his stepfather. And it was just like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. I think I had a panic attack because I think we went out to eat somewhere and it was just the three of us. And this little boy, he's just so precious. And he's just like, he took to me pretty quickly. And I was really surprised. I thought he was gonna be kind of standoffish. He was just so warm. He didn't give off like stranger danger. He was just so accepting of me. He calls me T. That's my baby boy. It's so I had a panic attack a little bit because we were walking somewhere, we were going out to eat, and he was just like holding my hand. He just wanted to keep holding my hand. And I was just like, oh no. Oh, okay, what is happening? Okay, I have a son now. Okay, I'm getting married. Okay, it was just like a weird moment where everything was hitting me at one time because we were just going, going, going. Even though this was an accelerated process, it didn't feel rushed. It was not rushed. Everything was decent and in order. That's how I knew God's hand was in it. But Yeah, I just had to share that little random tidbit. I had like a slight little panic attack. It was like everything hit me at one time. I'm like, I'm about to be a mom. I'm about to be a wife. I'm about to, because even though he's not my biological son, we got the same last name. You're my baby. You know what I mean? Like, so I took that on. And so it was so many cool things happening at this time during the planning of our wedding and traveling to see family. There was two couples that we came across just randomly. It was an older couple in our building, and they have been married, older Black couple. They were married for 40 years. 40 years. And so we connected with them and had lunch with them a couple of times because we were still experiencing a bit of backlash from certain family members about our choice, and the speed of everything. So I felt like God was just sending some encouragement our way. Um, so we got to know them and glean from them and learn from them, just like just grounded principles of everlasting marriage and a sustaining marriage. And then I remember one time we were randomly in Publix in the produce aisle, and then it was this older white guy who came up. I think he was like Jewish or something, and he was just so cool. Like, I don't even know how we started talking with him, but he was just like chatting with us. He was like an older, like older, like maybe in his 70s, like spunky guy, full of life, full of personality. And I forgot how we got on this topic, but he was another beacon of light that was sent our way of encouragement because he shared with us that he actually, it was something crazy. Like, he met and married his wife, I think, in like 4 months or something like that. And he was standing in front of us to say, yeah, we're still married to this day. And I forgot how long they were married, but it was decades, at least 20, 30 years, that kind of thing. And then so he started to just talk to us about why he made that choice. And it was just so much wisdom that was coming our way at that time, where I really started to see God's hand and God's confirmation, if you will, just like of our choice, I love the Father. I love him so much. Because that was love right there, to glean from them. And I think I remember, I forget which couple, well, if it was a man at the store, because we had we stood there and talked with that man for like 30 minutes. And the other couple, we hung out from them from time to time because we lived in the same building. But between the two of them, I forgot who said it exactly, but one thing that really encouraged me, and I wonder if it'll encourage you as well, it was kind of like if you know, you know. And don't get so caught up in thinking that you have to be with someone for X amount of time before you get to know them, everything about them, like vetting them for years and years and years until you get comfortable enough to marry this person. I was comfortable and confident in marrying this man because I had a cheat code. I had the Holy Spirit. Okay. And so that accelerated the whole process for us, where we didn't have to sit here and bank on our chemistry for a year, or if, just vetting each other and trying to learn each and every little piece of each other before we made a decision to commit to each other. If you're trying to move in a sense of purity in this relationship, that means you're gonna go there and you're not gonna have sex for a year. It was easy for me to not have sex for a year because I didn't have nobody to have sex with, okay? But I mean, people who know me personally, my husband ain't ugly, okay? That would have been very hard. Excuse me, what? So no, I'm not waiting for 2-3 years before I'm intimate with my person, which meant that biologically, for us personally, it made sense that we had an accelerated marriage, okay? Because I'm just like, what the heck? Now, that's for us. I'm not saying this about anybody else. Maybe there's couples out there who have been pure and celibate together for 5 years. That's great. We ain't built that way. We aren't. So yeah, it didn't happen like that. So it took us 6 months. But anyway, back to the story. So after that, we traveled to Jersey to meet his family. And that was so dope. I met some of his brothers. And then we traveled to Chicago for him to meet some of my side of the family. That was amazing. He met my brother, my sister-in-law, and my nieces and nephews, and my uncle and aunts. And it was just cool. It was really, really cool. And it was just that was like us making our rounds because we realized that we were making a swift choice in other people's eyes. For us, it couldn't come sooner. We were just like, I'll be married to you right now if I could, you know? But the only reason why we waited for 6 months, honestly, is because I actually did want a wedding, a smaller wedding. And I actually did want to invite my family into the process, invite my family into this beautiful celebration on this special day for us. So that's honestly probably the only reason why it took us 6 months, because realistically, it was going to take some time. And so we did all the things, the catering, the the florist, the decorations, the theme. I had the wedding dress. I rented my wedding dress actually because I didn't see any reason in purchasing it for me personally. So I rented a beautiful wedding dress because I was never going to wear it again. When we have our vow renewal, I'm going to wear a different wedding dress. I might buy that one, you know? Those couple of months was worth it because here comes our wedding day. And it was absolutely brilliant. It was absolutely perfect. And come to find out on his side of the family, that was the first time in a very long time, because he has a lot of brothers. it was it was a long time coming for all of his brothers and his biological dad and mom and stepdad, everybody to be in one place. So it was like a family reunion. It kind of on both sides. And we had maybe 64, 65 guests. I didn't want, my threshold was 50, but it ended up ballooning up to 65 because, people's kids and their spouses and all these things. But we came across a teaching of Miles Monroe. We really like Miles Monroe. And he was basically talking on the topic of marriage, and I'm paraphrasing, but he was saying in so many words, be careful who you invite to your wedding or to be a part of your union, because that's essentially who comes to your wedding is essentially who you're breaking bread with. And so if you have people at your wedding that are against you or against, what your marriage stands for. I mean, some people it's kind of like, we got to invite so and so, but it was very few and far between of that in our wedding. Be careful who you invite to your wedding. And that's why we didn't invite people to a show. We didn't invite people to be entertained. We invited people to join in and to support this covenant that was being formed before God. It was very sacred. We did a foot washing ceremony, and we actually had a friend of ours from church who was an ordained pastor. He ended up officiating us in our wedding, and it was beautiful. It was just like, our wedding video is very intimate, so I don't want to share the whole thing. Maybe I'll show like a snapshot. To express how it was something out of a fairy tale for me. It was beautiful, but still very simple and elegant. We had an outside ceremony in the garden. I love gardens. And then we went inside for the reception where it was on and popping, okay? Because me and my husband, we love to dance, so we cut up. And so we had the DJ going, we had great food. And anybody who was at that wedding, they got a sense of us. The food that we served was quite healthy. Um, because and maybe I'll show the art piece that I made. I made an art piece for our wedding. And it was a verse in Genesis. It was talking about, how the food that God provided for us to eat, basically. So it was just like an ode to health, if you will. everything was just so great. Like even down to me having a vegan cake. I wasn't vegan at the time. I was pescatarian, but I'm still like dairy free. So I had a vegan cake. Nobody knew it was vegan. It was amazing. It was so good. So it was just so many highlights of my wedding day, our wedding day, that I can go down and pinpoint like, oh, this was great. Oh, this was great. Oh, this was dope. Like it was beautiful. It really, really was beautiful. We had his son in our wedding. I had my niece in my wedding. Like it was just, yeah, yeah. Of course we cried. We boohoo cried the whole time. Not only was a wedding being planned, but also a honeymoon. Because my desire was always that, and I'm saying my, because a lot of men are this way. And my husband was this way. It was just kind of like, whatever you want to do, when it comes down to the decorations. Only thing that he was just like, no, no, wait, hold on, what we doing? Is when it came to the food and the music, because my husband is a music head. Okay. So he was like, nah, I'm gonna put the playlist together. It's gonna be this, and this. Oh, you gotta have this. Got some old school. Gotta have that. And then when it came to the food, he definitely did not miss that food tasting. So we tasted the food. We picked out what we wanted. But when it came to like the decorations and the color scheme and all of these things, even our honeymoon destinations, he was just like, yeah, whatever you want to do. And so I'm booking and planning, because I'm an efficient planner, for our honeymoon as well as the wedding. And because right after the wedding, we had a really beautiful master suite at the Whitley Hotel in Buckhead, and it was beautiful. Our feet was barking, and we had some leftover cake and the food from the wedding. We just, oh child, kicked back our feet and snacked on some cake, opened the cards and the gifts in the hotel room, and I think we just chilled that night and took a really long bubble bath and just and just relaxed, because that was such a whirlwind. That was such a beautiful day, but it was a very full day. But also the next day after that, yeah, next day, because we spent a full day just kind of like having just alone time with each other. I think we went like shopping at Lenox or something to get ready for our trip, because the following day we were off to Paris. Yeah, we planned a 2-week honeymoon, 7 days in Paris, and we're supposed to have 7 days in Italy between Florence and Venice. And just amazing. My first time ever in Europe. And it's so funny because if you watch my previous videos when I talked about me, coming out of that sugar baby lifestyle and how I used to travel with the man that I was dating and all these things, that's one place that I never went, was Europe. And I think subconsciously, I wanted that to be untouched. I did not want to travel to Europe with some guy that was basically paying me to sleep with him. I wanted to go there with the person I would marry. Specifically, definitely Paris and or Italy. Just so happened that we decided to do both. Um, and so I'm so grateful that for me and my husband, that was our first time in Europe. And man, we had a blast. We had a blast. I'll give a highlight. 3 highlights from our honeymoon, so that I'm not sitting here blabbing away. One highlight is, I would say, oh my gosh, going to Paris and going, actually, it's like an elevator inside of the Eiffel Tower, going all the way to the top, taking pictures and toasting rosé on the top of the Eiffel Tower and eating macaroons. Like, what? Who are we? So I think we took a picture and of us, like, at the Eiffel Tower. And it was just kind of like we were joking around. I'm not gonna say it here, but like ninjas, I'll just say that word, in Paris. We were Anyway. We were just like goofing off, but that was the highlight. And just the residential area that we stayed in Paris. We stayed in the 17th arrondissement. So it's basically like this. It's right up the street from the Arc de Triomphe. And it was like walking distance to that. And we can walk to farmers markets and just see the freshness of their food and the culture. And I didn't like that they smoke everywhere because I hate cigarettes. But other than that, Paris was amazing. Oh my God. And the shopping was so great. But then something happened. We got homesick. Because unfortunately for Paris, we didn't really care for the food, the breakfast and the pastries. Oh my God. Mwah. Like the chocolates and everything. Amazing. But like the dinners and lunch options, we found ourselves strangely eating a lot of like Asian food there because we just didn't really care for certain restaurants. You could eat but so many hamburgers. Okay. So we just got kind of tired because that was his choice, hamburgers and stuff like that. Um, I think when we go back to Paris, I want to go on a family trip and I want us to get like an Airbnb so that we have more control over our food. Go to the fresh markets, cook fish, get the fresh fruits and veggies and the baked breads and all those things. But we just got homesick. And so we were supposed to spend another week in Italy. And so one night we were in our hotel and we were just like, I think I want to go back home. And so we cut the trip short. And so what we ended up doing is we still caught the flight from Paris to Florence, Italy, but we only stayed one day in Florence. And it was interesting because my husband was like, "Man, I really wish maybe we should have started off with Italy because Florence, the vibe was just like it was like throwback. It was giving 90s. Like there was no Ubers. The food was very simple and amazing. Um, and so we just kind of hung out and just kind of just walked around and just did a little sightseeing, just a little bit because it started to rain too, starting to enter their rainy season. So it was just like, ah. So we spent one day in Florence, enjoyed that. And then we caught the train to Venice and we spent one night in Venice. That was interesting because it was, first of all, everything's on water, as you know, but it was just, Venice was amazing because we're shuffling everything around so that we can get back home. We changed our hotel and we didn't realize what we changed our hotel to. So we had fun. We enjoyed walking around and going out to eat. We went to this pizza spot. They had amazing pizza, great wine, Italian red wine. In Italy, crazy. But when it was time to go back and go to sleep after just walking around goofing off for hours all night, this hotel, my God, that was the only part of our honeymoon that was just like trash. The hotel was like, I would say probably like the equivalent of like a Motel 6 here in the States. I had no idea. We didn't know that because it was just, we switched it. What we switched it from was a very nice hotel. The one in Florence was a beautiful hotel, but this one, we didn't know we were switching it to. We were just like, oh, this is the only thing is available. We just switch it to here so we can get on our flight the next day. Child, the lady turned the AC off downstairs. First of all, the fact that it was one person at the front desk. She turned the AC off downstairs. And so we had to open the window. But because we opened the window and Venice is on water, all the mosquitoes came into our hotel room. So we are both sleeping under the blanket, trying not to get bit. We just like scratching it. Like it was something out of a bad rom-com. It was really bad. That was torture. I'm not gonna lie. That was torture. I'm like, man, I'm ready to go home. So so we came home and that was the honeymoon. That was the honeymoon. We had so much fun. And so as we near the end of this story, I will just share with you all briefly that we decided after coming home, and this was pre-planned because I did a workshop in LA back, I think in August, and my husband came with me. Well, a fiance at the time came with me. And it was so interesting because he was somewhere else because at the time his brother stayed in LA. So he was hanging out with his brother. And I was actually in the workshop, in the acting workshop in the class. And I just felt it in my spirit so strongly, like, we need to be here. And then I was praying about it and everything. And I was just like, Lord, if you allow us to come here, I feel like, something's going to happen when we come here. And so we moved to LA um, right after coming back from our honeymoon, like a month later. Because we came back from our honeymoon, top of October, maybe 2 weeks later, we were, well, I wouldn't say we didn't fully move. We were bicoastal. So we packed up our things, and oh, no. So while we were there, we were just like, he was like, I think we need to be here. And I'm like, what? I felt the same thing, but I was so nervous to tell him that because I didn't know what he was thinking. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we live in Atlanta, right? I was there back in August doing the acting workshop. We started looking for apartments. And if you watched my very first video of this series, I was sharing how I met Darkness. Well, Darkness met me in LA. Back then, I was looking for apartments. And I was like planning on moving to LA before the pandemic hit. So that was God's way of be like, nope, cancel that plan. And so it was so interesting how things kind of came full circle because we were interested in staying in the valley. And I particularly liked Sherman Oaks. And he's visited LA quite a few times because his brother, he used to live in LA. His brother's a very, well-known choreographer. And so he would be in LA a lot working with him and all of these things. So he was familiar with the Valley as well, even though he never lived in LA. And so we are just driving around and then we wander around we stop at this Whole Foods and I look down the street and I'm like, wait a minute. I remember this apartment. This is an apartment that I was looking at virtually, a couple years back when I was planning on moving here. And I was like, let's just go in. And this is back in August. And so we went and we looked and we like knocked on the glass and we were just like, hi. And somebody that lived there let us in. And they were just like so gracious. It was like, yeah, want me to give you a tour? I was like, sure. And so long story short with that, we ended up kind of getting a lay of the land of this apartment. And we just thought it was so cute. It was so dope. It was just like strategically placed, not too close to Hollywood, not too close, not too far from it either. Because I thought that we were going to be moving to LA for me to really get heavy into acting. And so that's what we did. So fast forward, it's October. We just came back from Paris and Italy, and we have already pre-planned to move out to LA. Oh, the adventures. So it's just so interesting that, and I guess I'll just end it here and I'll just share this briefly. Just to paint a picture for you all. We move out to LA and I think we were there like back and forth, because it was starting to be the holidays. So November had to come back home and, go to Florida and see our son and, go back to LA. Okay, go back to Atlanta, enjoy Christmas and all these things. Go back to LA. And I remember one day, and we're settled in our cute little apartment. I done, shipped my cat over and everything. And I didn't have anything planned acting wise at that time, but I was planning on getting into acting classes and pursuing, going full throttle. But also, we had a second endeavor that we were planning to do together. We were going to start our first community. Yeah. And it was going to be called the 4A community. And he felt like God really put it on his heart to start a community centered around the process that we created, that he started and he created. I kind of came and like tweaked it a little bit. We were coming there and preparing to essentially get into some sense of ministry as well. Like I really honestly, we didn't know what we were out there for. But it was December and we kind of have like our groove going in LA, the spots that we hang out at, the spots that we eat at. I had a couple friends that I would hang out with out there, him as well. And, down to our schedules, going downstairs, working out, coming upstairs, planning this community, what we're gonna do. And one day I came back to the apartment from working out, and I was just really tired. I was just like, oof, I'll go lay down. Sometimes after you do a workout, you get tired. So I was like, I don't think nothing of it, whatever. And I remembered after getting up from my nap that I had a pregnancy test in the bathroom. Because ever since we've been married, I mean, my heart has just been so excited to get pregnant all of a sudden. Even though I wanted to wait, but another part of me was kind of like, I want to do it now. I want to get pregnant. Um, and so I think we had a moment where we're just like, are we pregnant? No, false alarm. So I had pregnancy tests left over. And that was not on my radar. That was not what we were planning anymore. We thought, you know what, let's just be married and enjoy our freedom for these next 2 years and just enjoy each other. And then maybe after 2 years, we could start planning to have a child. So I took this pregnancy test, and I will share with you in the next episode what happened. Very interesting times. Very interesting times. You see now why I'm going to write a book. It's just so much going on. It's so much going on. So thank you for letting me share this. I know this video is long enough. And that is our accelerated marriage love story, if you will. If you have anything that you want to share in the comments down below about, gosh, maybe if you've had anything similar, even if it comes to someone being in your life, like, is this my wife? Is this my husband? I don't know. Or anything you want to share down below, just hit me up. Just let's talk. Cause I love talking in the comments. So if you leave a comment, I will respond. I don't just be sitting there looking at comments and going about my day. So I just had to say that. But I'm going to end the video here, and we're going to pick this up on episode 9. And I will see you then. Peace.